Here we have an example of a research organizer, an essay organizer, for the Great Depression essay. And we have our central questions up here. And the student, again, in this case, has selected the idea of education and school closings, and they just restated that up here from the research proposal. The area of social sciences is political science because, again, schools are controlled by local governments and state governments, and they also receive federal funding. Here's the thesis statement, which you probably saw on the worksheet. It's got the orange cause, the blue effect, and the pink government solution. When we start an essay, we start with a broad opening statement. This student came up with this broad opening statement about education. Education is something that is very important to children of every generation. Notice it doesn't mention the Great Depression. It's bigger than that. Notice it doesn't even mention American schools. It's bigger than that. It is a broad general hook for the student. In an introduction, then we're going to have about 3 or 4 sentences that gradually narrow that topic from general education to our thesis. And the student here with their first sentence says that in the late 1920s and the 30s, students did not get an education, referring to that time period. Then they mention the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, children across the nation had no access to a public school, so they're getting closer to that thesis statement. They say almost an entire generation of Americans were left uneducated. And finally, those who had schooling did not get a good one, meaning, I guess, good education, compared to students before the Depression. Now we move into the body of our essay, which are the body paragraphs. And you can see we're going to use as a main point or topic sentence that general statement from the thesis writing sheet, and we're going to put it in green. We're going to color code our entire essay. And here is that statement from the thesis writing worksheet. America's failing economy hit schools hard. Many budget cuts were made and many schools were in debt. That's referring to the cause, and that's the main point of body paragraph 1. In each body paragraph, we're going to have 2 pieces of evidence that are sourced, that are cited, and they will be in purple. Here we see the first piece of evidence. This is a quote they took from an article called The Depression and Education. It's to support that main point about a lack of money. And then we're going to have explanations of our evidence called links in yellow, where the student's going to explain that evidence, right? And they're going to try to connect it back to their main idea. And that's what you see there. As we continue to move down, we see their second piece of evidence in this particular essay. Let me bring it back up here, or in this particular paragraph. If I bring it back up, we're jumping around a little bit. But evidence number 2, you can see right here. A number of teachers, supervisors, and principals in education had fallen. And then you can see the source again, and then underneath the explanation or a link. The student making sure to connect that piece of evidence back to their main point. And as I scroll down, we'll see the same thing for body paragraph 2, a green main point that comes from a thesis writing worksheet. 2 pieces of evidence in purple with sources in citation like this, in those parentheses, in quotation marks. You'll also see yellow links, explanations for each piece of evidence. And you'll see the same thing for body paragraph 3, a green main point, purple evidence then with sources, yellow links or explanations of each piece of evidence. And as you get to the end here, you'll see that the beginning of our concluding paragraph is going to be a restatement of thesis that mentions cause in orange, effects in blue, and solution in pink. And as you scroll back down to even further to the bottom, you'll see that you have to restate the topics. Massive debts, many schools, right? Thousands of students were left with no education. The government stepped in with a solution to the problem. These are the main points restated from each body paragraph. And we end with a general statement that mimics and mirrors our hook from the original introduction. Education is important to everyone, and an entire generation was left without one. As I move back up, you'll need all these parts in your essay. The evidence, right, that is from sources, that's based on our research, based on the questions that we created. The links in yellow explaining all that evidence. The green topic sentences or main points at the beginning of each paragraph. If you are able to fill out this organizer and you have all these parts, you will do well on this essay because you'll have everything that you need, and then we'll revise and refine it. Hopefully this student example helped you out. Refer back to it whenever you need to. Thank you.